My name is Wendi Cunningham, and I'm the owner of Pureformance Pilates. And so I had a studio down in Tempe, and I have one that I opened up here in Wickenburg, Arizona. I'm out in the
Man,
country here, so
oh, nice. How
but
far are those two locations from one another?
they're about an hour and 20 minutes. So when I moved up here, I wanted to create a retreat center and
Oh,
an
cool.
educational center. So that way everyone could unplug and come out into nature. You know, we have a lot of fun things to do out here. We have horseback riding and side by side and getting dirty in
Okay.
the desert. So it's good.
Nice. You're talking to a straight city boy right now. So, I'm like born in Toronto. Yes, that's how we do.
Yeah. So you were born and raised in Toronto.
Born and raised, yeah, born in Toronto, raised in the suburbs. So
There you
this is
go.
as good as it gets.
So,
Okay.
so yeah, so I just enjoyed. It's about an hour and 20 minutes. My clients thought I was crazy when I moved out here,
Mhm.
you know, because it is out in the middle of nowhere, but there are some precious gems over here, I must say.
I can
So
imagine.
it's been awesome. So I'm really very grateful for the opportunity to do what I do for sure.
That's awesome. Uh,
Yeah.
I remember talking with Miguel Silva, maybe one of my first, couple conversations, and we had a conversation in a similar line where it's like we think that the gold star is that storefront 5,000 square foot studio in New York City, and he has like
Mhm.
this small studio in Spain somewhere and is connected
Yeah.
to a school, and it's like, and he's the
Yeah.
man, right? So it's not like you need like all the stars and stripes to like have it perfect.
No.
So you're out in the country doing your
Not
thing.
at all. Out in my country doing the thing. Uh-huh. So
Nice.
it's been good. You know, I started in my home. I started through Peak Pilates. I started with them and
Nice.
one of my
Portugal.
instructors.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And so, oh, Portugal, wrong one. But anyway, but it was neat of the process of deciding the direction to go. And when I went into New York and I met with Brooke Seiler, I asked her, I said, what is one of your greatest advices you can give to me? And she says, stay small, just stay
Mm.
small. And,
Yes.
I'll never forget that. I carried with me this entire time.
Mm.
I really think you lose the quality over quantity. And I think it's very important to obtain the quality and not think of it as the quantity.
Absolutely. Uh,
Hmm.
can you think of someone who has found a sweet spot between pretty good quantity and still keeping somewhat quality at the same time?
I would definitely at this time, someone, you mean in their practice or personally? Because I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
that
That's a
as
good
my
both.
growth, well, I feel like
Yeah.
with my growth, even with my studio, I stayed very small. And
Mm.
then I went to my home and I started training in my home. And then from there, then I found a studio in Tempe and it was just beautiful. And it's simple and small.
Mhm.
And now I have five reformers, and I love the studio that I'm in now. And what I'm finding is that those gems come out and they continuously keep coming out. And when you do stay small, you get to know your clientele. I've had clients that have been with me for 12 years.
Mhm.
They 2 to 3 days a week, you're with them. And to obtain clientele for such a long period of time, I do believe that you do need the quantity. Um, and it's the quality amongst that quantity. I mean, I
Yes.
meant to say
I
quality
know what
for
you mean. Yeah, I
sure.
follow you. Yeah. Yes. I follow you.
It's early
Um,
over here.
I know it is. So I'm like, thank you. Yeah, and but that's exactly it. So I feel like there's got to be a sweet spot. There has to be a challenge because there are. I say it this way for my business. I want to build it well, not fast.
Hmm.
So wherever, however big it gets, that's how big it's gonna get. As long as I'm building it well, like where there's still quality and there's still attention, people still feel like we're cultivating a sense of community and all those things.
Yes.
So whatever that caps at, it caps at. So it's not like I'm trying to keep it small, nor am I trying to build an empire at the same time.
No,
You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
for the sake of building an empire.
I always tell everyone, just shoot for the moon, and amongst them you will land among, with the stars. It is such a true statement. We have goals and we want to obtain those goals, but what I find is as you're shooting a direction, it always ends up going in many different ways. It's kind of like a
Yes.
firework.
Hmm. Yeah, no,
So,
it's so true. And
yeah,
that's where we have to be open to that, like, and allow these things to grow organically. And
yes.
the most successful people that I've spoken to here on these conversations didn't have like a vision board and a whiteboard
No.
and a plan and the strategy when
Yeah.
they started. They may have a massively successful business, and it just grew there, and it wasn't like they plotted their 15-year business plan, business strategy, right? Like,
Exactly. And
yeah.
in our industry, it's ever changing, and we have different challenges that come our way personally and physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I
Hmm.
mean, so many different challenges will present themselves, but through those challenges, it just creates a better product because
Yes.
all of us are in this industry because somehow, some way, Pilates have touched our lives. And
Hmm.
so I look at everyone in our industry as precious gems. And literally, when you get to know people, you realize their journey, and it's definitely not all that you think it's supposed to be.
Honestly, that is the thing that I love about it, because
Yeah.
social media is, we're notorious for that. We put our best foot forward, we put our best looking pictures, and I'm not hating on social media because we're using it right now for good. It's
That's
like,
the biggest
you know,
perception that the downfall that anyone can do in any situation is we all look at a picture and we think, that's one thing having four kids. I had four
yes.
children, and the worst thing I hated was going to go get pictures taken. Because if
Uh,
anyone knew what it took, the hours it took to get that one photo,
yes.
that one kid was always like not wanting to smile or something. And I'm
Yes.
like, we proposed this picture of all four kids, we're all smiling, and I'm going, oh, nobody had a clue the fight that happened before that. And
Yes.
and that's why I hated pictures. I hated that because people would perceive family, or they perceive when you see Pilates bodies or you see things that I can't obtain that. I can't do that. I can't
Yes.
be that family. I can't be that mom. And to
Hmm.
me, the biggest thing is the authenticity that you might get because that's what makes things so pure is the fact of the pressure that created the purity. And
Yes.
it has been quite the journey, I will say, for sure. Very humbling.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I'm reading Joel's comment here. Most Pilates instructors, myself included, are the ready, aim, fire people. Yes. We were just talking earlier, but just like how we just jump right in and just go sort of thing. Yeah. And
But
the
yeah,
family.
oh yeah, the family picture thing. And I can't tell you how many times I'd walk into Starbucks and make sure everyone used their manners and, just I was herding cats all the time. And
Yes.
I'm like, come on. And we'd walk into a place and these young girls would look at me and they'd go, I want what you have. You have the perfect family. And I went, whoa, 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 whoa,
Mm.
whoa. No, 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 no. I said, I said, we're far from perfect. This is a lot of work here, a lot of work, and
Yeah.
I would never let anyone ever see that side. I would never say, yeah, oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
don't let them believe that, right?
No, I would not let them believe it. I'm like,
Yeah.
if you want to see hell and high water, come to my house at 5 or 6 in the evening. And it's like, you know,
Screaming kids,
oh,
yeah.
absolutely
Screaming
crazy,
moms. Yeah.
crazy. And that was the hardest thing. I lived in a community. It was like there was a show out there, Desperate Housewives.
Hmm.
And I lived in a community that was like that. Everything looked perfect. Everybody had chefs and maids and all this stuff. And they're like, Wendy, how many nannies do you have? And I said, none. And they're like, you're crazy. you're crazy. You have 4 kids. You don't have anyone helping you. And I'm like, that's why I had them. But the thing is they couldn't understand. They thought I was crazy
Yes.
because I wasn't, I'm like, I allowed myself to be in those moments. And
Hmm.
if we got to school and everyone's hair was combed and they looked decent, then they were like, this doesn't seem right. There's no way. And I
Yes.
said, just once again, come to my house around 4 or 5 and you'll feel quite normal, because I'm
Yes.
not Cinderella, that's for sure.
Yeah. Wow. How old are your kids, or what's the age gap between the
So
kids?
my oldest now is 24,
Okay.
and she's married and she's pregnant with her first baby.
Oh,
And then
exciting.
my son, he's 22 and he just had his first baby. He's married. So the two oldest are married and on their own. And then I have a 20-year-old daughter and an 18-year-old son. So they're
Wow.
all 2 years apart, girl, boy, girl, boy. And through that came a lot of teaching. Life is the greatest teacher of all, for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
With
so it was busy.
yeah, we have
Hmm.
4 teenagers, two by marriage, and
Oh, you do.
so we're right in that
Oh,
18,
you're having
17,
fun
14,
right
14.
now.
Yep. So yeah, I feel you. And so then I talk to people who have like newborns, young kids, and I'm like, so glad I'm through that stage. Not hating on anyone that has young kids at home, but I feel like I've paid my dues and I'm grateful for the life stage that I'm at right now.
Exactly. It's a lot of work. You don't realize you think life is such, we perceive things so differently than what they really are. And I don't know
Mhm.
how in life and how in society we think, oh, when I get this, I literally was ignorant enough as a mom, thinking that I'm going to show my child the utmost respect. I'm not even going to tell it no. I'm going to say, don't touch that. And I thought by me being that perfect mom, that my child would respect me back, right? And that didn't happen. No,
Not so much.
not so much. And
No.
so it was one of those things that, I'll never forget when they started saying no to me. And I was like, where'd you hear that word from? I didn't tell you that, and I finally realized, I'm like, okay, let's get down and dirty and we're gonna, kind of, we got to live life here. And so we're born a certain way. We have a certain drive. We're
Hmm.
all so different and we're born like this. There's no, life might refine us and change us, but we ultimately, that's one thing. Each one of my kids are also uniquely different and we're born
Yes.
like that.
Right.
Hmm.
Exactly. We may be talking parenting right now, but the reality is that this is Pilates as well. This is our clients. This is how we approach every
It
different
is.
individual who walks in the door, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes you're training teenagers in your studio. Sometimes you have toddlers.
Yes.
And sometimes you have the obedient ones that will do every single thing that you say,
Right. And
and
actually, can I jump in there with that? Because
absolutely.
even that is dangerous because that person who just jumps in and just obedient and does everything you say may not express that something hurt them, may not express that this isn't benefiting them. They're just compliant but not engaged.
You got it. That is the biggest thing that can happen. And during those times, it's really important, or they have so much fear in their body that prevents the movement and momentum to move forward. So over time, as you are real as a person before teaching them, they get to know you on a personal level
Hmm.
and they realize, oh, I could just relax, I could just be
Yes.
myself. And then you find out more and more and more about them, and a lot of times there's a lot of fear there. There's a fear to be allowing you to understand their pain and their suffering that they've been experiencing, because movement not just brings out physical pain, movement brings out psychological and emotional pain, for sure.
Hmm.
And that's
Absolutely.
something to be prepared for when you are in a Pilates studio, because Pilates is such a deep work that as you're working with each and every body, there's going to be things that come up and
Yes.
imperfections that show time and time again.
Hmm.
And it's literally taking that opportunity to allow it to come to the surface so that they can heal and they're not holding on to the trauma and the imperfection that they've been hiding so much to
Yes.
keep away.
Right,
Hmm.
exactly. So how do we build trust with our clients to a point where they can share that or they can be vulnerable enough that it can be visible?
I think by discussing your trials and talking about things in what Pilates has done for you
Hmm.
and how that has happened and how common that is. Or sometimes it's to guide them and it's not even to go deep during the time, but then afterwards, just being real with the process of not just with them, but with you personally or with
Yes.
your experience with other clients because it's important to create a community of consciousness. And as you're
Like
doing
that.
that, and as people are coming in your studio, it's like I make sure, as they're passing, this is so and so, this is so and so, and
Hmm.
letting everyone get to know each other because to walk in a Pilates studio, you immediately are vulnerable. You're belly up. Here
Legs
I
wide.
am.
Yeah.
Legs wide right there. And just alone to be in that position, right? I mean, how
Yes.
did you get in Pilates? I mean, did you feel vulnerable when that happened, when you got on a reformer?
It's funny, I share the story of how I found plies all the time, but now you just brought up a different element of it for me, Wendy, in the way that you brought it there, because I remember when I was playing football, had an injury, found Pilates, realized this was really working well for me, and I decided to take a Pilates, like a mat class, just out of my own interest. Being the only guy in the room, right? And
That's hard.
not even like bring yes, exactly. Not even bring in like being black or like being a
That's the
visible minority
perception.
and
Right.
like just being a male in that
Hmm.
room was one. And then the way it
Yeah.
was taught being very like she was a former dancer, so it had this very sing-songy cadence to it. And I was thinking like I'm not singing for people teaching a Pilates class. I'm never going to teach this
Mm-mm.
now. So there's that sense of being determined enough to want to figure this out for my own body, overriding my fear of being uncomfortable in that room. So I
Hmm.
had to kind of talk myself off the ledge and go back because I actually wanted to figure this out for my body. I wanted this for my body more than I was uncomfortable with the fact that I was the only guy in the room and that this class is being sung to me and that if I'm ever going to
Yeah.
be a good Plies teacher, I have to do it with this thing and snap my finger and three and four. And
Ah.
I'm like, that's so, and that's not me. So I couldn't,
No,
I'm surprised I even demonstrated that
that's
for you.
not me either. That was very good.
Thank you very much. So we have to be vulnerable going into those spaces.
Hmm.
So how do we create a safe space for that? How do we create trust there? And I think also to this lady's credit, as much as I was very sing-songy, she was a very good teacher. So I went back because I wanted that level of expertise that she had.
Hmm. That's good.
That, that's I think that's the other part of it. Like if you're that good, people will come back because you're that good.
Right. And everyone has their own teaching style. So it's really important to give people the freedom to choose the teaching style because, I didn't think I was an athlete and I did not think either that Pilates was going to be for me when I was told, "Oh, you'd make a great instructor, you should start coming." And so when I started, I was surrounded by dancers, and I could do the Running Man and the Cabbage Patch, like I could dance, but people would be like, "Wendy, you don't know what a passe is," and I'm like, "Well, teach me. I want to know." And
Right.
so I didn't know if it would be for me because I'm not a dancer and I'm an athlete, and athletes train totally different in the regards of tell us what to do. We got to move. We got to move. We got to
Yes.
move.
Got to get
And
it done. Yeah.
and so it was really different. And so now what I really embrace is how different and how special each and every instructor is,
Mhm.
because for them to even be an instructor, I look at them and I'm like, good job, you know? And if anything, Pilates has been probably the most humbling thing of a journey that I've been through, because
Absolutely.
it is constantly changing. You never master anything. Mastery is, once again, the moon. But it is something that we strive for. And as we continue to strive towards things, we are challenged, and then we find a deeper level of connection, and then from
Yes.
there it's not obtainable. It's amazing, and then it changes again,
And
and
then
then we
changes
go
again.
into a deeper balance and connection. So it's fascinating to me. I can't even believe they didn't have this in any courses or classes when I was in college studying exercise physiology. I can't believe they did not introduce Pilates to all of us.
Right. And what were
Hmm.
your sports growing up?
Growing up, I loved volleyball, softball,
Mhm.
tennis, and soccer.
Yes.
So tennis was my just my dad said we always had to be in a sport. So we had to stay busy so we'd stay out of trouble.
Okay. Yes.
And so I played volleyball, softball, and tennis through high school.
Mhm.
Ended up getting a volleyball scholarship and started
Oh,
playing
wow.
volleyball. And there
Very
wasn't
cool.
a defense specialist, okay? Since I'm
Mhm.
only 5'7", they started putting me in the back row, and I'm like, I'm a hitter. I don't want to be in the back row. But they didn't call it special names back in the 90s.
Yeah. Right.
That's how old I am.
Yeah.
But it turned out that I ended up playing tennis. So I enjoyed it, but I was always in pain. I was
Hmm.
always in pain, getting taped up, you know, from a young age, you know.
Yes.
So anyway, but it was a fun sport. I thought I would try to do the Olympics when I was 45. I wanted
Oh,
to
really?
play. Yeah,
So
I wanted
cool.
to play and train, but my body said no. That's not
Hmm.
the direction you're going to go.
Yes. That's cool that you could try. Like, I mean, like most people can't even try. So kudos to you
True,
for being,
true.
like that's, and imagine if we had Pilates when you were in your teens, just as just
Forget
not,
about it. Forget about it.
yeah.
You know, I got to tell you, I have this really special client, and now she's training to be an instructor, but she came to me and she's 22. And when I started training her, she's like, you know what? I believe that if I take care of my body now, I won't have to pay later. And I was so pleased to hear that coming from her. It was
Mhm.
so special because she understands the quality over the quantity. She
Yes.
understands that I take care of myself now, it will pay back to me later.
Yes.
And I wasn't that smart back then.
I don't
You
think
know,
many of us were.
no.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get to a point that you think more, more, more,
Mhm.
and we were taught that though. Our society at the time was no pain, no gain. Don't you
Right.
agree?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now the pain is what we're preventing.
Right. Yes, exactly. I mean, it's funny, but that is the segue back to movement heals, right?
Yes,
Because
it
now
does.
this is where we're at with the people that walk in. So when I throw that phrase out, movement heals, to the layperson who hears that, what, like, how do you explain that? What does that mean to you?
So movement heals because it allows you to reconnect back inside of yourself. And movement did heal me because I did go through some very traumatic things through birth.
Mm,
And after that, and movement helped heal my body. And then, even when I started studying Pilates and when I started training very intensely and progressing forward, then another surgery happened. And then I had to go back to the basics and I had to rebuild. And
yes.
then it happened again. And I had to go back to the basics and I had to rebuild.
Yeah.
And then I'm moving forward and progressing and feeling amazing again. And then I had another surgery. And it is something that movement will heal your body to take you wherever you're at. And that's the thing that I do love about Pilates is it takes your body where it's at. And that's why my key term is Pilates is for everybody. You know,
Yes.
I have a 20-year-old that's spine is like a 100-year-old, and I have an 83-year-old who's been with me 4 years, and her spine is back down to a 20-year-old. And you
Yes.
know, age
Love
is
that.
just a number, and you are as young as your spine is flexible. And so, with surgery and through healing and everything that we might go through that challenges us, movement tends to stop, but we need to keep moving. We have to keep
Yes.
moving. And I think of movement like water. And
Mm.
water that continues to move is flowing, it's nurturing. You know, water in life, and that's what movement is to our bodies. And
Yes.
that is something that I found. It's not stagnant. I keep telling people to move because if you're,
Hmm.
you know, a pond that there's no flowing water, what's there? Algae,
Yes.
mosquitoes. I mean, it smells,
It's
you
not
know.
pleasant.
No, it's not pleasant. And
Right.
so it's important. So movement does heal.
Mm.
Hmm.
And the emotional side to that too, right? Because I mean, I think of
Absolutely.
times I've been in a funk, and like I was sharing before, even going through my divorce, like physically healthy, but just emotionally not
Drained.
there, drained,
Absolutely. Hmm.
empty,
Divorce is
dark,
a death.
low.
Yes.
Yes.
Divorce is a death. Been through that. Been there, done
Mm.
that.
Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt.
And it is, you know, life has ways that you think it's supposed to be one way, and it totally turns to go another direction. You think people are, I think the biggest thing that we do is lie to ourselves because we think that life is to be something else than what it is. And so you live in a state of disappointment. And I think it's nice to come to a realization of that because we even have a realization of we all think our bodies should look and be a certain way, but we're not made that way, you know?
Right. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's really coming to a true acceptance of what life is and its greatest challenges for sure.
Right. I would add to that, like that lying to ourselves happens because we place unrealistic expectations on ourselves,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
So then when we don't
Absolutely.
achieve these unrealistic expectations, then we're like, well, why aren't I there? Why aren't I like that? Why don't I have that? Why didn't my marriage survive? Why their marriage is miserable and they're still together and I was supposed to last forever? Like, what's going on? Right? Like, we all have friends
Absolutely.
where like we look at them, we're like, I'll give them 3 more weeks, and then they stay together forever. And you look at your relationship, and you're like, this evaporated, and like, we could have fought through this. Like
Yes.
you go through different points, and we have different
Mhm.
expectations, and sometimes they're unrealistic expectations of ourselves, and we beat ourselves up because we don't live up to this imaginary standard for ourselves.
You got it. Absolutely. And we think of the happily ever after.
Yes.
And we think that no one would ever hurt us again, or you know, you have that perception. But to me, once again, it's going back into being real and accepting faults and allowing growth too,
Mhm.
and growth within yourself. And so it's moving forward in true grace, really.
Well said. Grace. That piece, that grace thing. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, because until we figure out how to forgive ourselves, right? Because we can
Hmm.
be our hardest critic, we can be the toughest person
Absolutely, we
on us,
can. Hmm.
right? Like I know that I push myself so hard, there's no one that could push me harder than I push myself.
Right.
Likewise, the converse of that is I beat myself up so badly at times, and there's no one that could make me feel worse than I can make myself feel, right? So
Yes.
how do we move past that so that we can actually grow, find that
And
healing, find the movement?
yes, and that's probably, you know, through those experiences, when you take them into your studio and when you're dealing with every different body, it's understanding that they have the same disappointments in their life.
Yes.
They have
Yes.
the same challenges, maybe in different forms, but literally anyone that's standing today, I just want to give everyone a high five because
Yes.
you hear their story and you know that they're still standing, and it's almost like we need to give grace to every human being here on earth, because ultimately they've made it this far. They're still standing, and they've muddled through some serious things to even still be here today.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And that's the beauty of our work. And there's times that we have these conversations, in the studio where someone will share their life story and then you're vulnerable and you share your story and you have this connection. And then there's other times when you just use silence. And there's times when you know that they're going through something and they just want to be here, to move, to sweat, and to leave, and to be sensitive to what every person needs.
And normally that should probably be the first step of when you're dealing with anybody. Let them dictate where the lesson resides and you guide it. Just as you guide and teach a body to stay into balance, sometimes we have to guide and teach them. And what I find is I let everyone know in the beginning, when someone's learning something or you're teaching something in the studio, it does require a little more language, but it's so important for the body to feel the connection. And it can't
Yes.
feel and it can't be in that space if you're continuously talking through that time. It's actually distracting. And
Yes.
that's why music sometimes it's like it has to be very light and in the background if there's any. Because even as I'm teaching and really watching a body and honing in on a body to make sure it's in alignment and guiding, sometimes just a little bit in the background is so distracting and disturbing that
Yes.
and it would be for the body as well. And so
Absolutely.
it's just being mindful. It's being
Hmm.
mindful in allowing others to move
Yes.
and being mindful of the environment to create that healing environment for them, because there's so much that happens within the 55 minutes that you have that body in front of you teaching them.
Right. And
Hmm.
also, if I could add to that, being mindful of teaching them how to listen to their own body.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to give people instructions and they just follow you. It's another thing for them to listen to their own body,
Yes.
right? And
Hmm.
yes, and as Joel was saying, they're listening with ears and eyes, and I guess pre-COVID and hands, right? Like you can like be able
Yeah.
to listen with those tactile cues. Like, do we feel
Yes.
heat? Do we feel swelling? Do we feel shaking? Or like what all those different things. But
Hmm.
yeah, the more we can educate people on their own bodies and just facilitate them
Hmm.
understanding what's happening in their own body, and then we're coming alongside them in that journey, the more they get out of it.
Yes, they really do. And they end up carrying it with them. I tell them what you learn in here, it's when you sit down at home, it's when you're in your kitchen, it's when you're riding your bike or walking down the street. Mindful movement goes with you everywhere.
Yes.
Pilates is something we just address in the studio, but it is the most amazing tool that creates every facet of healing in a body. And that goes with you in life. So you're
Yes.
teaching, you're literally giving the biggest tool in someone's tool belt how to get through life when you get them
Yes.
in the studio, because it
Yes.
allows you to be pain free. It allows you to be within your body, within yourself, and you're able
Hmm.
to lift up and to gain efficiency in your movement in all things that you do, even driving your car. So,
Absolutely.
mhm.
That reminds me of the post that I put up this morning. Like on Facebook when it shows like your memories from pictures you posted back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
So I harvested this picture from Facebook where it's in 2016 me teaching my dad Pilates, and he's on the ladder
Oh,
barrel and he's doing flat back.
yes, I
And
saw that.
yeah, and so in the
Yeah.
post I put that it's all that you just said there, basically the gift of giving people that the ability to take that into their life and their
Mm.
everyday working, all those things, but also the layer of the honor of teaching your parents. And thinking about the fact that the guy that taught me how to walk is now saying, okay, what's the next exercise? Like he's deferring his wisdom, his years on this planet to his son to teach him something. And I
Yes.
think that is the most awesome responsibility that almost makes me cry every time I say it,
Oh,
because it's like, it's so huge, right? It's so
it
huge that we're
is.
giving that gift of movement back to the people that gave us life.
Yes, absolutely. I
Yes.
had my 93, she'll be 94-year-old grandmother in here.
Oh,
And
wow. Yes.
she moved like a champ. The hardest thing is she didn't want to take her knee highs off. So teaching someone with knee highs, it was very slippery. But she's a phenomenal human being. But it is very humbling when you're able to take those loved ones
Mhm.
and help bring them back to life using Contrology.
Yes.
It is
Yes. I,
it
I
is
like
an
how you slid
amazing
that in
tool.
there. Yes. I have a quick business question for you.
Yes,
So now you have two locations, and
yes.
right, so there, are you shutting one down? You're about to say, or
So yeah,
okay?
the one down in Tempe. So I have instructors down there teaching for me, and so this month is the last month I'll be down there.
Oh,
Up
wow.
here
Okay.
in Wickenburg is it is. I moved up here a year and a half ago. I am loving it. I love the outdoors, and there's a huge need in the regards of the town has really embraced me up here. So
Awesome.
I'm going to be up here 100% of the time because of the movement and the direction that I'm going with my business.
Very cool. And
Hmm.
yeah, and that was the question I was going to ask. So who is your target audience? Who are the people that you're most passionate about connecting with in your new community?
Everybody,
Yeah.
literally every single body. um, Anyone that wants to move. The vibe up here has been so positive in the regards that a roper. I have ropers, golfers. We are the roping capital of the world up here. So what I'm finding is a lot of the people that do have horses, the majority of my people have horses and ride. And
Yes.
it has really helped them connect into their horse. And yesterday, I
Very
had a
cool.
gentleman said, Wendy, you're putting me back in the saddle again.
Hey,
And I
nice.
said,
Nice.
I truly, that's what we do is we put everyone back in the saddle again. Here we go, let's ride.
Yes.
And it has been awesome because a lot of times riding horses, people are told, oh, you're too old to do that now. But that's their
Okay.
life. Oh yeah, that's
Yes.
their life. They love their horse, they love roping, they love riding. And it gives them that sense of freedom. And I'm like, that's the worst thing that anyone could be told. And it's probably
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
if you fall off, you could break a hip.
Yes.
But you could slip on a wet floor and get injured as well. So, or driving your car. And I told them, I'm like, well, do you drive your car? And so so the majority of people, literally, I have everybody here in the studio. I have young, I have old. There's in a community just to be present and to be there for the people that are here that come in.
Hmm.
Word of mouth just spreads.
Yes.
And
Awesome.
I can't even believe how much it is like fire. And people's bodies after the first or second session immediately they're like, is this for real? I
Yes.
feel
Where
so
has this
much
been my
better.
whole life? Right.
Yeah, they feel
Yeah.
so much better. It's like
Yeah.
butter.
But the Julie Driver, do you know her? Have you heard of her? She's in England and she does plies. She does like plies for equestrian, and does like all these ride and incorporates that for that population. I should introduce you guys.
That would be
You guys,
awesome.
you
I
guys can
haven't
talk
met
shop.
her. Yeah, we
Okay.
could.
Yeah.
But it has been so neat. And the tools that you use in the studio help everybody in every
Yes.
realm. I had even Harley Davidson riders. And
There you go.
yeah,
Steel
one he had
horse.
a yeah, and he had a hip replacement and he didn't think he could ever ride again. And we got him back in his saddle again. And
That's
it is
awesome.
it is just phenomenal. You have, you know, the professional athletes, they come up, their training facility is down in Peoria, and strength coaches that are incorporating Pilates into their professional athletes, baseball in particular. They're incorporating that into their system, which is awesome. And it is just, it's for the old, it's for the young, it's for the strong, it's for the weak. And so it has been, I can't say it's a direct focus, because I do believe that when you allow yourself to be there and to receive what is to come, the people that come and walk in your studio are meant to be there.
Yes,
Everyone
absolutely.
that's in
So
your
good.
life is there for a reason. And
Mm,
so you just have to be open to that and understand that every opportunity in this life is a gift. And that's just where I've learned, is just to live in the present.
that's some good stuff. That's some life lessons right there, Wendy. Like,
Yes.
yes. I love that. And in the sense of, like, when we do these conversations, you hear these stories, and I'm sure everyone who's listened to is like, she's awesome, because
Oh,
these
thank you.
community, like, you're a community hero, right? Like, for your community, people are recognizing that this is a game changer. This is something that I need, and you're so excited to be there.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And
It is a game changer. And it's a game changer when you dedicate your life to humanity. It's a
right.
game changer when you truly care about your community. And I have people that leave for a season, and they're so afraid that when they come back, they're like, "Can I pay you so that I serve my?"
Yes.
They know that things are. I let everyone know that my community comes first, and
Yes.
my people, I'm loyal to a fault, and I will make sure that my community is taken care of first before everyone starts filtering in. And if I do, when I do have the workshops and when I have the retreats, that's just
Yes.
going to be on the weekend, because I
Mm,
told all of them, I'm here for you. And when you look
yes.
at your community that way, and you literally become a part of the community, it's a beautiful thing. And it's an infinite amount of give and take and give and take.
Yes.
And what you put out
Reciprocating.
there comes back.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Love it. This is so rich. So good. All right. I just
It's good
reading some.
stuff.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. I feel so full from this.
Aw,
Reading
nice to
Joel's
meet
comments.
you.
Yes. Yeah. Joel is awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. Like, I really, really have enjoyed this conversation, and I'm looking forward to just pulling out all those little pieces that we just talked about and reposting them. So I will send you the replay, and
That sounds wonderful.
yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you for
thank
having me,
you.
and thank you for creating a community of consciousness and allowing people to share. And there's so much, so many gems, is what I like to say. And I thought of a diamond the other day, and diamonds are formed under pressure. And things that are of value in this life are formed under pressure. It's not a beautiful process. And through it, what makes it the shiniest are the cuts. And I think things in life cut us to allow us to shine. And so thank you for
Yes.
creating that within our community.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Amazing. All right. I will sign you off.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who
Absolutely.
joined us. Thank you,
Yes. Thank you.
Emmett and Dusty Martinis. I see all of you guys here. Thank you so much for joining us today. All right. I'm going to sign you up. Thank you,
All
Wendy.
right.
Take
Sounds
care.
good. Thank
All right.
you. All
All
right.
right. Bye
Have a
now.
great day. Bye bye.